Good evening and welcome to the St. Petersburg By Night podcasting network. Tonight, we present to you our Werewolf the Apocalypse Chronicle, Rage Across Tampa.
Welcome to another St. Pete by Night revamped production. The following is rated for mature audiences and may contain graphic themes that will be distressing to some viewers. As always, we recommend you ensure the safety and well-being of yourself and those around you at all times. Viewer discretion is advised.
In the heart of night, we rise from shadows, howling at the moon, igniting our battles, cleansing Gaia of an endless fight, until our final days we will fight. Thanks, man, we stand united as one. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take our final stand. Everywhere we run, the wind is at our back. All the warm forces we will track. From the depths of the ocean to the clouds in the sky, vampires tremble as we learn to fight. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Evil spirits lurking with horror and dread. Little light leads us where the brave dare tread. Glory and honor, wisdom in our hand. Together we rise, take a final stand. Rage across Tampa, in this fight we'll stay. Everywhere with the pack, let the night be our guide. In battles of honor, we shall never hide. Fuck will never hide.
Good evening and welcome back to the St. Pete by Night Entertainment Network. My name is Kent, also known as Misha Kent on all social media. I am the lead storyteller of St. Pete by Night. We are a massive multiplayer 5th edition chronicle set in the city of St. Petersburg, Florida, and in the world of darkness, which contains Vampire the Masquerade. It contains Hunter the Reckoning. And if you're here on a Tuesday night, which you are, it also contains Werewolf the Apocalypse, because this is Rage Across Tampa, our 5th edition Werewolf the Apocalypse Chronicle set in the city of Tampa, Florida, across the bay from St. Petersburg, where a pack of Guru attempt to establish a Sept and fight back against the Tampa Camarilla to reclaim the city of Tampa and the state of Florida as a whole for the Guru Nation, which has been shattered and is attempting to possibly reform, possibly find some sort of common ground. The war for Gaia is an endless fight, needless to say, and it has been a losing fight for quite some time for the Guru and for the spirits that make up the Umbra. But maybe there is some hope to be found. That remains to be seen. In a world where hope is surely lacking, as many of you out there probably have felt over the past 7 days, maybe these Guru can establish some hope yet, at least in fiction, if not in reality. But we will see as our adventure continues to unfold. Of course, I couldn't take us on this adventure alone. I need some pretty incredible players to make that happen. So I'm going to pass it over to those players to introduce themselves now. Players, say hello.
Hey everybody, My name's Preston. I play Aiden Goodspeed, the Arun of the Galestalkers.
Hi, everybody. I'm Champ, Champagne. You can call me Sigma, because I be mogging on these skibbities like Baby Gronk. And I'll be playing Aspen Weiss, Philodox of the Silver Fangs.
Hi, everybody. I'm Noree, and I will be playing Malicious Jester, the Galliard of the Black Furies.
Hi everybody, I'm Walks, and I will be playing Lucas Shaw, the Ragabash of the Shadow Lords.
I'm going to rate that introduction an Ohio. Because, seriously, why? Why? Champ, why? Anyway, last week, the pack was tasked with the decision of what to sacrifice. Because the storm demanded a sacrifice. The storm that took the shape of Helene and Milton, that ravaged the Tampa Bay area, let alone Florida and a good portion of the Southeast United States, demanded a sacrifice if it was going to be appeased, if it was going to allow the Guru to retake their part in the storm season, in the task of maintaining the rights, in returning to their place in the area. It would demand a sacrifice of the Weaver. There was some debate and some unique ideas proposed, including maybe even some acts of possible terrorism to try and satisfy the storm. But eventually, some rather creative solutions were hatched. But to see if those would be enough, only time will tell. Also, some interesting discoveries were made, some discussions were had, and a decision was made by Jester as to the possible fate of Leon. A very, very difficult decision that will have to be carried out. A decision that she has decided to carry out herself. A decision that will be carried out at some point in tonight's story. But our story begins this evening with a phone call as Aspen reaches out to her mentor, Matthias Morningkill of the Silver Fangs, to check in. Aspen, it's been quite some time since you've spoken with Matthias after he gave you some support in the form of Charles after he helped you establish the cairn at the Memorial Gardens in the Rite of the Cairn Awakening, after he gave you some much needed resources and support in those early days. But now you have been having some lingering questions as to his intentions, which he has been very vague about for some time. He said that he would need something and that he would probably come asking for favors at some point. And you have kind of had this, I wouldn't necessarily call it anxiety, but maybe a little bit of nervousness, a little bit of turning in your stomach as to what that would be. And so as you have picked up your phone and looked at the contact information in your phone, you finally have decided to dial. And the phone rings a few times before it is picked up. Morningkill Industries, how may I direct your call?
Hello, this is Aspen Weiss. I'm looking to talk to Mr. Morningkill.
Miss Weiss, of course. I will direct your call immediately. Just a moment. Of course, you're put on hold for a moment. And then after another couple of rings, it's picked up again. Aspen, good evening. What can I do for you?
Good evening. I was calling to check in to see how things are going on your side of things.
They're progressing slowly, but that's to be expected. I have been making efforts to reach out to some of our associates, but they have been slow to respond. But these things take time. They have of course, reasons to be hesitant, especially in efforts to engage with the work you've been doing. But I think with the success I've heard you've had as of late, that should reassure them.
We are making great progress.
Oh, I've heard.
Snags here and there, but are to be expected, of course. I did have a question. With all of your help with the cairn and things of that nature, what do you need from me?
He pauses for a moment. I don't think that's something you need to concern yourself with at this moment. I'm more concerned about what you might need from me. After all of the reports I've received about the storms you've encountered, of the destruction that area has suffered, what can I do to help you? How are you faring?
Well, that's a bit of a complicated question. We've, like I said, made progress. There's been some setbacks. We had an interaction with the storm. Not very happy with our absence over the last few years. So that was something we needed to take care of, and something we're still taking care of, which is unfortunate.
Is there anything I can do to help?
Not unless you have wisdom on what a storm would see as a sacrifice for us, from a weaver sacrifice, if you will, that we must sacrifice as my pack.
Well, I'm not a theurge by any means, so I can't speak for spirits, but considering a storm as a force of the wild, a force of destruction, and the weaver is a force of creation, it builds. I would assume it would seek to do the opposite of what the weaver creates. It would want to destroy something that was built. It would want to unmake. It would want to even the scales. So, it would want to destroy something you have built.
I was
Or
afraid you would
something
say that.
have invested in that has been built. Something that is of great value to you, or something that is in great value to the guru. Not necessarily yourself, but to your people, or our people.
And the only potential I see is the cairn we've worked so hard for. But that means starting over, and that's gives me a lot of anxiety.
Well, that's a great assumption. There are other possibilities, of course. Your resources are limited, but I'm sure there are other options. There are connections, pacts. Things that are built aren't necessarily always physical. Relationships, for example, are a connection. Things that are forged, built. Items of value are built, forged. These are made of the weaver as well. A well-forged clave, for example, is an item of value of the weaver and is of great value to the guru. If I remember correctly, there is one local to that area that is of great value. Not just to the guru, but to that region specifically. It has a history.
There is indeed. It's broken and not as useful as it could be. I just worry that it is significant to us, yes, but is that enough to satiate this sacrifice?
The physical form is not the full significance of the thing. The emotion that ties to it, the history, can also add to the significance. You have to understand, spirits, they are complicated, multifaceted. Their depth knows no bounds. The destruction something like a storm seeks to wreak isn't merely physical. It feeds on the emotional destruction it causes as well. This is where the Banes are attracted, because of that emotional pain that is brought. That's why they cling closely to things like storms. This is where the wild and the worm often work in harmony together. The problem is that balance has shifted too far sometimes. If you give it significance, if you express the significance of it, you can make it enough. But if it isn't enough to you, if you have doubt that it will be enough, it won't be. Because that spirit will know that you don't think it's enough. And it will have every reason to use that doubt to its advantage. It's like a good negotiation in business or in law. You look for the weakness in your opponent and you seize it.
I agree. And that's a wonderful idea. I also have, well, Charles tells me to put my emotions aside to be leader, but it does worry me that this clave that we have belongs to someone who's already lost so much. And I know it's an object in the grand scheme of things, but it's still, if I have the potential to not take something that is strictly hers again, I prefer not to.
It was merely a suggestion. An option. Not that it is necessary, but you have to consider all the possibilities. The pain of a pack member, or the potential loss of the region.
I understand. How do you and Charles, you lead with such logic. And I think that's something I lack.
It comes with time, with experience. Leading with passion caused our ancestors to lose a great deal. It caused many of the fractures you see within the nation that came before. Passion drove the howlers into the depths of the Umbra to become the dancers, as you call them now. passion formed the cult. That passion turns to rage and burns into the fires of Hoglosk. Or that passion burns out and sends one into the depths of Piranha. Logic is what balances the scale. There is a time for fury. There is a time for rage, certainly. It is a tool, just like any other, a weapon, just like any other, and there is a time to wield it. But you must know when that time is, and you must use it sparingly, because it is a very powerful weapon. And if used incorrectly, it can not only damage you and those you care about, it can eventually fully consume you and control you. Our king, Albrecht, he let his passions consume him. And now he suffers the burnout. He has fallen to the depths. He has lost control. And while he is still our king, he is a king of the past. He is a king of an age long gone. He is a king in name and symbol only. He cannot lead. And truthfully, he may never find his way back. But he is family. And I would never dishonor family. But I also will not see everything he has built crumble. We must move forward. Logic must still hold. The scales must be corrected. So if his passion or lack thereof will weigh heavily on one side, I must let my logic, my lack of passion, my unwillingness to allow passion weigh heavily on the other, to correct.
What about compassion?
When there is time for it, when the situation calls for it, certainly. I believe it is needed, and I believe there are people fit for that. I believe it is a good thing to have. A worthy Galliard, a child of Gaia, can bring such a thing to a good Sept. But we as Silverfangs, we of the Falcon, we must bring our wisdom, our foresight, our ability to see ahead, far ahead, into the distance, into the future, We must not look at the ground in front of us. Not down at our feet. Let the others do that.
Okay. I will do my best. Speaking of that, though, with where the cairn is and our not so distant future conflicts with the leeches, there's a opportunity to move somewhere more secluded with less eyes. It would be establishing something new versus what we already have. There's a lot of potential and a lot of pros in that. But I foresee some cons in that as well. I was wondering if you'd be able to advise me the best you can on a decision.
It was quite an ordeal to set up the first cairn. A lot of favors had to be called in. A lot of effort had to be made. But it was a very exposed location. If your theurge hadn't been so insistent that that was the spot, I would have advised against that location in the first place. But he seemed pretty set on it. And I have found arguing with a ghost council to be a fool's errand. Their macabre ways. If you have found a location that you believe is fitting, it could be a worthwhile endeavor. But how you are going to be able to go through the process of enacting the rite again, that could be difficult. Again, the favors that were used to enact it the first time, that was quite taxing. I'm not sure that I could be able to assist you in that way again.
I understand. And I think all of us here, we can figure out what we need to move to find another location. I don't foresee that as an issue. That we're pretty resourceful. So you've helped me once. I wouldn't ask you to help me again, of course.
I would. I've already invested quite a great deal in you. I'm not going to back out now.
Well, I don't need those favors stacking up now, do I?
It's not favors, Aspen. It's an investment.
Well, I don't need those investments stacking up now, do I, Mr. Morningkill?
Tell me more about this opportunity.
For the potential other cairn?
Yes.
It would be secluded in the woods, a clearing, somewhere we can go where it's not right in the middle of hustle and bustle. It's quiet, a place where we can hunker down, and it's more within nature, which I think is great for being able to be closer to spirits and in the wild. It safer. It's safer. It's not exposed.
How did you learn about this location?
Aiden found it.
And who would be doing the right?
They're all very pointed questions. Did you want to ask a specific question?
I'm asking.
Okay. Who would be doing the right? It would be Eliza, of course.
Do you think that's the best idea?
To have Eliza do the right?
Yes.
I do. I think that out of everyone, yourself excluded, of course, she's been the one willing to help us, nation or not. She's been here. She's been trying to rebuild with us, which is a lot more than I can say for the rest of our nation.
Do you understand why there's distrust in the stargazers?
I don't understand the distrust. I understand their ideas are different. They're much more pragmatic in how they see the problems being fixed compared to the nation as a whole.
They don't believe there are any rules in how. There doesn't believe in a structure in how best to serve Gaia. They believe in a methodology that goes beyond and outside of structure. They have decided to go off of the path. Now, do I believe that the path is solid? Yes. Do I believe that following that path has always worked? No. I believe it has failed us before. I believe that we have failed it before. Do I think that's the path's fault? No. I think selfish ambitions or lack of ability, weak wills, a society without order cannot stand. What the stargazers wish for is a society without order.
Well, I of course agree that order is necessary for our culture to exist. I also believe that regardless of ideals, everyone has something to teach us. Everyone has their own unique experiences and their own ways of doing things. And if we learned from other ideas, we can do better.
Certainly, and this is why I took no umbrage with her assistance in the first rite. This is why I've taken no umbrage with her aid or guidance, with what ideas or wisdom she's had to offer. I've taken no issue with. But if she is leading this rite, if she is enacting this rite, there is risk involved, a great amount of risk. Because no one knows what a stargazer's patron is. When they left the nation, they started communing with a patron that no one can identify. They left their patron behind. We don't know what forces the patrons or the stargazers take their guidance from. You understand that could be very dangerous, good, evil, or otherwise. When you don't know who is leading who, Who is advising who? Who is granting what power to whom? You don't know where that power comes from. When we work with spirits, it's a shared arrangement. So it's important to know which spirits we're working with. If you are opening a new cairn with spirits you don't know, spirits you don't understand, you are opening yourself up to forces that could mean you harm, could have ill intentions, could do a great deal of damage, not just to yourself, not just to your companions, but to everything you're seeking to do. And she may not even know it.
I understand, and I'm listening. She has helped us when it came to the storm in that situation. She didn't lead us astray. I trust her. There are things I don't know, and I will look into those things because I think you make excellent points. But I do trust her. If not all stargazers, she's the only one I've met, but I trust her. She's been here. I understand your concern with the spirits themselves. I have on decent authority that the spirits around the potential cairn don't wish to harm us and actually fit well into our culture. So
It was also her guidance that led to the fall of the first Sept. Remember that.
I understand, but I think to hold her to that when our pack included have helped shatter the nation in ways, we can't all take that burden on for ourselves, and we can't be reprimanded for mistakes of the past.
It's one thing when the mistakes are attributed to a tribe, yes, I agree with you. When the mistakes are committed by the individual themselves is a completely different ordeal, and you should know the difference, Miss Weiss.
I do. And I've also learned that forgiveness is necessary.
Very well. I will remind you of a very familiar old adage. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Absolutely.
I really hope you aren't fooled twice.
I hope for all of us that I'm not.
As to your question, what do I want? The question that prompted this very conversation. You're young. Your Sept is young. You are building something in a very turbulent area. but also a very populated, a very known area, a very structured area. And while you are well seated within the society there, congratulations, by the way, well
Thank you.
earned. So are they, deeper seated than you, well seated. And should you succeed, you will be ripping that society apart from the roots. Doing so could cause it to crumble. Crumble in a way that the economy likely wouldn't survive. It's been built on the efforts of the leeches for centuries. They built it that way intentionally. Something would be needed to keep things looking normal, behaving normal, going unnoticed so that other forces, government agencies and the like, those that would call themselves monster hunters or other leech entities, don't take notice. Don't act to respond or seek to prey upon the area. So what I want is to help you with a peaceful transition. And would I benefit? Certainly. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm investing in you, but it will also assist in this new nation I'm hoping to see built. The resources that would be gained from this transition could be reinvested in helping our nation grow. Could be transferred into other operations, green initiatives, new organizations being set up across the country, resources funneled into agencies to fight back against organizations like Endron. There are a lot more fronts that we are fighting on other than Tampa, and a lot of those fronts are very sorely underfunded, and that is why they are unwilling to assist you. It's because they are hurting themselves. If we could show them, after your success, that we can help them as well, it is likely that you will see more assistance come your way. In fact, there's a small group to the north that I'm currently working on, potentially trying to bring back into the fold. They've been on the outskirts for some time, and I'm going to negotiate with them over the winter to see if I can get on good terms with them. The old nation ignored them, pushed them out. They're a little rough around the edges, comprised mostly of some of the tribes that would be looked down upon by the Silver Fangs and the Glass Walkers, but I believe if I extend good tidings to them, open up negotiations, perhaps I can bring them back into the fold before the likes of Fenris or the Dancers try to sway their beliefs, or before they decide to go renegade themselves. That being said, if I am able to convince them. I just might send some of them your way. Some reinforcements to aid in your efforts.
Would make Tampa just a little bit bigger, which is what we're looking for.
I am trying to help you, Miss Weiss. I know that I have an odd way of doing things. It seems logical, it may seem cold even. It may seem like it is lacking compassion. But I do want to see you succeed. I want to see us all succeed.
I don't doubt that. I've never doubted that you've wanted to help and that you were sincere in being helpful. It just makes me nervous when I don't know the whole story and can't see the whole picture. You know me, I'm not great at unknowns.
I just want you to focus on what's in front of you. The future that's in front of you. Don't worry about the rest of the world. Worry about your world. Let me look at the bigger picture outside of Tampa. I've spent a great deal more time out here.
So wise, so old.
Was there anything else, Miss Weiss?
No, just thank you. Thank you for helping. It means a lot to me.
Of course. Do let me know if there's anything else you need, if you need any assistance with your recovery efforts, and do consider what I've said. While I think seeking out a new cairn would be wise, and I do see the wisdom in that, it might be worth considering waiting for another theurge to come to town, or recruiting a theurge from another sept nearby to assist in opening a cairn. Better the spirits you know than the spirits you don't.
Okay, I understand.
They may seem like they have good intentions. Just like people. They can trick you, and they will.
Still got a lot to learn about them, but I'll get there.
They never cease to surprise me, even now, after all these years.
Seems to be the trend.
Good luck.
Thank you.
With that, he hangs up. What's going through Aspen's mind as she brings the phone down, disconnecting it?
It's nice to hear somebody give their, almost like a, something to bounce off of, right? With all the emotions, having somebody so grounded to kind of bounce off of and get those ideas in a more logical sense with less like emotion within, is really helpful. So she's appreciating that a lot. And also there is a little bit of a, I don't want to say sadness, but like a push and pull of, because she really does respect Matthias, but she also really respects Eliza, and that there's like this kind of contention between the two is a struggle. But she's also a little bit pushed forward in thinking of how we could possibly potentially open this cairn. She's thinking maybe we'll see where Terrence is at and what he might bring to the table and see what we can do there. Also, more people coming in is very exciting because that means Tampa is growing, but it also means more opinions, and that's also scary.
So, with a lot on her mind, Aspen pushes some of those thoughts to the back of her head, trying to focus on the now, but maybe some new possibilities moving forward. We transition now to deep within Hillsborough State Park, not at the location that Aiden had found before, but to another location, a training ground of sorts, a place that the three of you have frequented at times before, a place that you go to have training sessions, a place you know that you will be undiscovered, a place where in pairs maybe you've gone before to practice the arts of the clave ever since Eliza's place has kind of no longer been an option. You've had to seek out new training grounds, and with Lettuce Lake having been flooded and closed after the storm, you've had to seek out a new place to train. Now it's a late afternoon, heading towards dusk. It's getting dark, and the three of you have just spent a nice long afternoon of training. You're hot, you're tired, you're sweaty, and you set down, both of you, Jester and Lucas, set down your claves. Aiden, you shift back into your Hamid form after a long, hard training session, panting, stopping to grab some water that you brought with you in a cooler. When Lucas, you have been thinking about something for several weeks now. An idea, a proposition that you wanted to bring to the rest of the pack. And the scene is yours.
You two are ridiculous. I don't. Jester, you're getting better, and Aiden, like, you're so fucking big. Why are you so big?
Why are you so small?
Oh my god. I'm gonna have to figure some new shit out. This is good. No, it's good.
You should just swing faster. I think that would help you.
Or make myself harder to hit.
That's helpful too.
Or that could do.
It's not a bad idea. I do have a question. If you two were interested in doing something under the radar, not bad. Yeah, I know. I'm getting that look from the both of you. I know. A surprise. A present. Lucas will walk over to the truck and he'll pick up a duffel bag. And he'll pull it out and walk over and drop it kind of in the center of where they're all at. He'll unzip it, and it is the slugs pulled out of all the bullets, the tangs pulled out of the blade, all the silver that we acquired from the other night. I dug some of these out of walls too. But this is a decent amount of silver. And I could do something with this.
Something like what?
Well, what's better than 2 clave bearers?
3.
Three?
Aiden,
Three?
3.
Yeah. Yeah. He's on the right track. I was going to let him get there. It's fine. Yeah, 3. This is a good amount to get into that work on. And I know some stuff. I'm not a great smith by any measure, but part of my training was also learning how to repair and resharpen and refold the blade so that it stayed up. It was upkeep, really. So what do you think if we took this and we made one for Aspen? as a symbolic thing, a symbol of leadership.
I don't know if she would use it. And she hates the Princess Bride, so she won't learn much of anything. But I don't see why not. She is a leader. I feel like she out of everyone should probably have something.
Jester's gonna stare at her clay for a minute. It was kind of well stated several times to me that those looking to wield a clave will challenge those who already have it.
Uh, Generally speaking, yes. Also, have either one of you ever, Jester, stop me if you have. Have you ever heard the story of the first clave? Like where these whole things came from?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so, I mean, there had to be something before the challenges. So, along the in the ancient days, this is right before we all started to form into tribes, and right as the worm started to gain its power. We still ran in packs, and we still were Guru in the sense of what we are now, but we just weren't as organized then because there wasn't much need to. But the worm was extremely powerful, and that initial burst of imbalance that brought it into the forefront when it tore through everything and cut us off from our birthrights in the spirit world. There was a pack. There were 4 people in the pack. Claws of Still of the Night, Shadow, Firetooth, and Galewind. And they were attacked by a Fomori of unusually large power. And that Fomori killed all of them but Galewind. Galewind was a Galliard. And the Fomori captured Galewind, and before we really had a whole tribe dedicated to the worm, there was a few Guru who turned and swapped sides. It wasn't as big as a problem as it is now, but it was a problem. And the Banes and the worm creatures in this Fomori wanted to take Galewind and corrupt them and turn them over to the worm. And for 6 days, they suffered. The whole time, the Galewind was suffering. A Glade Child, which some people think that's where the name comes from, was watching, a spirit, a tree spirit. Didn't do anything until the 6th day, when the Glade Child let out a scream and destroyed the tree that it was living in, that it had come from. And that tree fell over and killed many worm creatures and freed Galewind. Galewind got away with the help of the Glade Child. And the Glade Child was so regretful of what it had done. It felt responsible. So it decided that it would take a piece of that tree that it had come from and turn it into a weapon. So Galesong took this weapon. Some people say it was a dagger, some people say it was a sword, all kinds of things. They took it to the river and found stones, hollowed out stones, and put the weapon in the hollowed out stones and sang to Luna. And Luna blessed this weapon, turning parts of it into silver. And that was the creation of the first clave. Now, the story gets a little complicated depending on what tribe you talk to after that. There's glasswalkers that say it was a parable about mankind and Guru kind coming together to learn how to make things. The Silverfangs say that Galewind was a Silverfang, and that Galewind forged the first clave because that is the birthright of the Silverfangs. Just depends on who you ask, but Galewind immediately took the weapon and went for revenge. And then died trying to get revenge. And before they died, they threw the clave into a river. And if you can draw some parallels to our society and human society, it's believed that whoever finds that clave will become a great leader. So, distributing swords into bodies of water, form of government, I guess, never changes. But that clave was never won and fought. It was a burden. So while, yes, today we use clave dueling as a I don't even know anymore what we use it for. The truth of the matter is a clave is a burden because it's only designed for one thing. It's killing us. And a person who holds a clave holds life and death of a Guru in their hands. And I think that point is what I'm going for in giving this to Aspen, if you understand what I'm saying.
Have you made something like this before?
No.
Have you seen it be made before?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a good general idea.
What do you need from us? It looks like you have the stuff and the know-how. What do you need from us?
I think it's important if we all get involved. So the blade needs markings. It needs to tell a story when you look at it. I think that's why I think Jester should be involved with it. What should it look like? What message should it convey when somebody sees it? And while I have the silver, I still need a haft. I still need a grip. Something from Gaia.
The trees, most of these, some of these are softwood. Should be easy to whittle down if need be. And this area in general is where her and I first settled. So it could be just any of these trees around here, because it symbolizes where we started out here before things actually became what they are now.
Yeah, that'll do. And then of course it needs a name. They all have names.
What's yours? What's yours called?
That's a conversation for another time. Yeah, it's not.
Okay.
Let's not worry about that right now.
Okay. I'm not good with names.
Still staring at the my glaive. Suppose it's fitting. New leader gets a new glaive.
Did you ever think about getting the rest of yours?
No.
Could repair it.
It's in the body of the person who gave it to me. It's kind of feels a bit sacrilegious to dig him up just for a piece of it.
It's fair. You knew him, I didn't. So just if I die with a piece of silver in me, then just go ahead and pop that out for me, please. Not trying to be rude. I'm just saying, for me, what I want. If it's in there, get it out.
Can be arranged.
Come back and haunt you.
Please don't.
Jester, you good?
Yeah. All right. I'll help.
I'm the liar here. Come on. You know that.
I suppose that's another conversation that can be had later.
All right. All right. Well, step one is we got to melt this shit down.
Okay. So, fire. Easy
Fire.
enough.
Easy. Yep.
Now?
I mean,
Don't you need like a forge or something?
well, you need a crucible, which is like a really sturdy bowl or pot.
Like clay.
Yeah, clay would work.
You take that and put
So
the
we're
thing...
just gonna build a campfire, make a clay pot, melt the silver right now.
I mean, no. Maybe. I mean, I didn't think you guys would actually go along with this, to be honest.
Then why even bring it up?
I don't know, because I wanted to do something nice. I know that sounds
You
weird,
wanted to
but
what?
yeah, I know. Okay.
It's nice. It's a nice gift, and I think it'll be fitting for her.
Okay.
I think you got hit in the head too hard earlier.
That
But
was a lucky
probably
shot.
not do it now. Like here.
Well,
Find
it's
a place
dark.
to do it.
It's getting dark. I don't want to light a forge in the dark and try to pour molten hot metal. I mean,
Fire
like,
bright, Lucas.
yeah, I know. It's just if I spill the silver, I mean, we're all going to be in a bad position because
All
we're
right,
going to be
no,
digging
okay.
that shit out of the ground
Okay.
or off of each other.
Maybe just find a proper place to do it, because you say you have a general idea, but it's not like you can find YouTube videos on this thing.
I mean, I was thinking like a Damascus pattern. It's really easy to work Damascus into steel, especially with silver. So, it'll look cool.
Lucas, roll me an intelligence and craft.
Rage 2.
Yeah.
Four successes.
Obviously, in the situation you're in currently, you don't have the tools available to you right now to do it, as you all came to that conclusion pretty quickly. However, you do have a crematorium at the Memorial Gardens. And you do know that that furnace burns excruciatingly hot. If you were to get your hands on a crucible or something that could work for that, although there are probably some things that you could fashion there with a little finagling into it, you could probably melt the silver down there fairly easily. So you've got a furnace that could work. You would just need to put some other things together to make sure it didn't go spilling all over the inside of the furnace, but the rest, the heat's not the problem. You would just need to get the implements to get it all together.
Okay, so a idea. It's a little. It's probably not going to sound weird coming from me. What if we used the Memorial Garden crematorium to heat everything up? It's controlled. It's inconspicuous. I just need to find something to put in there that's also not going to melt with everything else. That shouldn't be hard.
I mean, Aiden's right, clay does work well.
Put something together. Okay. Yeah, I think we're coming up with a plan.
I can make that right now. Like, that's not hard.
Well, I mean, we'd have to fire it.
Well, yeah, but I could get you the thing made, and then we just take it with.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that.
To the bank.
So as an idea is forged, pun intended, a plan starts to take shape. But Jester, with all this talk of claves and blades, your mind can only go to one place, and a dark deed that lays ahead. With that, we're going to take a short break, and we'll go to the second half of tonight's story. See you in just a few minutes. We'll be right back.
St. Petersburg by Night is brought to you through collaborations with our partnered vendors: Wolfpack Dice, Ember Fox Dice, Dragon Ink Dice, Farrah the Bard, Champs Tramps, Pantry Artista, Chromatic Creations. Links to our partnered vendors, as well as our Twitch and YouTube channels, can be found on our website, stpbynight.com. The official theme song for St. Petersburg by Night is Vampire by Faith and Failure. You can find them at faithandfailure.com. You can follow St. Pete by Night on all socials with the hashtag St. Pete by Night. If you wish to support our program, you can do so at ko-fi.com/St. Pete by Night to help keep the stories rolling.
Welcome back. In the first half, we saw Aspen make a call to her mentor, Matthias Morningkill, to find out what Matthias's intentions were for the region. She found out Matthias had intentions to support the region of Tampa, as well as an investment in the future, and that Aspen could possibly expect some reinforcements coming soon, as he was in negotiations with the Sept to the north, and that they might be sending aid to help Tampa in the near future. Lucas, Jester, and Aiden talked about the possibility of forging a clave for their Sept leader with the remnants of the silver that was meant to assault the pack. Now, in the second half, Lucas has requested to have a conversation with Aspen. Aspen, where would you have Lucas meet you if he contacted you for a meeting?
Potentially to kind of walk around Lettuce Lake to see the damage, to see what,
Okay.
what things can be helped and fixed. So having a walk.
So the park is closed primarily to the public, but I would think that considering you know the area fairly well, you could probably sneak in or find a way onto the grounds without anybody giving you too much trouble. So Yeah, that seems possible enough. Artie and Lucas could probably find a place to park easy enough to get, into the area without getting into any of the flooded parts so that you could get onto the grounds and walk around. So as you're walking through the woods, you're seeing that a lot of the area is very, very much marshy. A lot of the, areas that were previously dry are still covered in pools of water. And a lot of the boardwalks have fallen trees over them. A lot of the planks have been broken. The place where there was the canoe launch is an absolute disaster. And the place where your campground was is completely submerged. It's completely underwater. The campground is a mess and is definitely not usable for the near future. But you can start your walk, and the scene is yours.
Aspen, I'm really thank you for meeting with me. Um, Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, I heard
Appreciate
it from Aiden. He told me what happened. So yeah, awesome. Do you have like a card that I can keep?
No, but that's actually a really wonderful idea. I should probably make one.
Well, I figured out
But
all of us. I'm probably the one that would need it. So
that's fair. You should probably, yeah, I should probably just, and she like pulls out a piece of paper. She's just gonna write all of her information on it just in case.
yeah, that'll totally work. Yeah, just it. Not what this conversation was about. Just I wanted to make sure I had that information. Um, I have concerns.
I think we all do, don't we?
Yeah. Look, you have a lot on your plate, and one of the things I think is my responsibility is there are now problems, which I think are your problems. I think that makes sense. And then there's tomorrow problems, and I feel like it's my responsibility to find the tomorrow problems and make sure they don't become now problems. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. I've been hearing a lot about thinking about the future and tomorrow's problems. So yeah, no, that actually fits quite well.
Okay, that's ominous. Um, if we're successful in what we set out to do you know what that's going to do to this whole area?
Kind of a broad question, Lucas. What exactly are you talking about? Are you talking about the leeches or potentially moving cairns or potentially having more people come in? There's a lot of what it will do and what it is.
If we completely disrupt the chain of command, the power base and the power structures, even more so than we've already done with the leeches, those institutions that the leeches rely on or manipulate or use to their own ends, there's not going to be any of them there anymore. And power loves a vacuum. And what I'm concerned about is that if that happens, we're going to make Tampa a worse place overall.
That's a big concern. Absolutely. If we get unfortunately, the leeches have a lot of power, a lot of hands and a lot of pots economically, all those different things, right? So we have to think about that. And does that mean that we're just opening a position of power for more to come in? from some other direction. Does that mean that, well, we still have Fenris here. So does that mean that there's a potential that they could come pushing their way in, wanting their piece of the pie? What does it all mean? I am completely with you. There's a lot of questions, but I hate to say it, and I hate not having answers, but I don't have a lot of the answers. I know that Matthias is helping with that. I know you love him.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What is he helping with? Just if you want to tell me.
Well, he's great with. He's got a management firm. He's great with business, so he's getting kind of some resources here. Of course, it helps him, of course, but it also helps us to make sure that the economy in some way, shape, or form doesn't just collapse, and that certain bases are covered once these leeches are gone. There are things in the works. I wish I had more of a handle on it individually, but
You don't?
well, I'm not the one buying the businesses and taking care of that side of things. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that I could do that I'm not doing.
Aspen, that puts you in a real less than advantageous position as a future Sept leader. If we clear this place out and more gurus start pouring in, he's going to control everything. I mean, who's really in charge at that point?
I see your point. I do. I understand it. So many opinions. I get it, and I know that means that he has some sort of power here. I understand that, but we have to understand that the five of us plus the two don't have the resources available to close that power vacuum. So it's better to, in your case, not so much mine. I actually quite like Matthias, the evil you know than the evil you don't, right?
Yeah, fair. It's like the only silver thing I like. Okay, so question. What if you, us, mainly you, but also us, were capable of tapping into something he didn't have? Because everything you listed is all things on the up and up. But I guarantee you, these kindred, they're not all legitimate business people.
We're not allowed to use that word, but continue.
What if somebody made a play for those businesses that were less than legitimate in the vacuum after the leeches left?
Okay. Are you volunteering?
I have an idea. It's gonna require you taking the leash off every now and then, which I know you're not greatly comfortable with, and I get it. But I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't do something that would cover your back. And I feel like if Matthias is controlling everything on the up and up, and we gain a substantial portion of the stuff that's not on the up and up, I'm not saying it's going to happen, But if we come at odds against each other, at least we're on relative even ground.
I'm not opposed to it, and trying to be better at not micromanaging you all, because that's gotten me nowhere. So what good is it?
Fair.
I'm not opposed to it by any means. I just is that enough for us? I know I don't do well in those spaces.
I just would be putting my feet into a new pond. But the idea I had is that maybe the biker gang has a lead into the front doors of whatever it is that is out there in Tampa. And we can start, well, if there's going to be a power vacuum, somebody's going to step in to try to take control. And if there's one thing that people like me, which is people like them, respect, it's strength. So if I could find who's going to step in and be stronger than them, maybe that's something they'll respect. Maybe they will pay tribute. Maybe they will swear fealty. It's not like signing contracts. It's more of their word, which is dangerous, but I could be pretty scary when I want to be.
Feels very Game of Thrones. Sorry, I've been watching stuff with Aiden recently.
That's good. Actually, I'm glad he's watching that.
He's learning something. But I think maybe there's potential there. I don't know how it all works. I wish I knew, but I think maybe, because you're, no offense, you're not like the greatest at making networking. We'll call it networking. How's that?
No, you're right, but what I was thinking is less of networking and more of iron fist.
You're up for that task?
You may be all smiles, but I'm much more gaslighty, if that makes sense. So those that I couldn't force, I could probably lie through my teeth too.
Okay. I have a condition.
I was waiting for that.
Have Jester help you with that. I think her in with the bikers, and also she's much friendlier than you. So iron fist when needed, but also friendly when needed, right? It almost like you guys would work really well together in that space. You're also both like a little like grungy, angsty, so that really works for that vibe, I think.
That is a interesting compliment I will consider. Just in the spirit of negotiation, loosely, not directly, I'd also like to bring Artie into it. I'm going to need somebody that's good on the keyboard to cover some trails, set up some interesting fronts, enterprises. I got to talk to him because I'm not on the finance thing. But I need somebody on a keyboard that can help us out. Is that okay?
I would never stop Artie from doing what Artie does best. And that's what he does best. He's great on computers, and I think he would love to help you all. Just don't get him into trouble, because I do want to eventually, get a firm out here and do what I need to do. And if this becomes a problem, then I'm associated with criminals. It becomes a whole thing. So just be smart.
Look, there's nothing that I would avoid more than having a law firm's IT guy found out to be involved in organized crime. And in a scrap, I want Jester, not Artie. So I would also want to use Aiden, but I feel like I don't feel like that's. I feel like
That
that's a
one,
last resort.
that one's gonna be a hard no for me.
Yeah.
I think he actually, I love him and he's doing very good and he is learning a lot and he's great in a scrap. But he might put you all at a disadvantage if that's the route you're gonna go.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's not. He's going to say something, and it's going to ruin something, and then we get to do what he loves, which is beat everybody up. But I don't. It's like that's later. That's last resort. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's if things get a little, heavy on that side. Then you can bring him in just to put people in their place and then take him right back out because he says the wrong thing a lot of the time. So
Love him to death, though. Um. Okay. Then this is something we're going to do.
and don't gag on me here, but I trust you and I think you can handle this. Just keep me informed.
Well, I will. That's just That's like heart 3 times grown Grinch thing feeling there. That's weird. But I'll keep you informed. Um, and this is, just so we're clear, something I'm not setting up for myself. This is something I'm setting up for all of us. So, yeah.
I've come to learn that everything that you've done here so far, for the most part, has been for all of us, even if I've absolutely hated it. So,
I'm a
I,
simple person.
fair enough.
Lucas seems to have more than one scheme moving in that head of his, but who can be surprised? He's a Shadow Lord after all, and that's kind of their business. We transition now to another bit of business, but not the business you'd expect. It's business of the heart. Aiden, you've been concerned for Eliza for some time, ever since the rite of contrition, when you were asked to act out as kind of her punisher of sorts on behalf of the storm, when you were asked not to hold back, to punish and to make her pay for her lack of fulfilling her duties in enacting the rites of the storm season. After that, it's been kind of a lot of work that you've had to do, and you really haven't had an opportunity to check in with her, and that guilt or maybe that heaviness has weighed upon you. So when you asked to talk with her, she asked to go for a run. So you went out once again to the Hillsborough State Park, and she asked to go to the grounds that you found, that special place. So in your lupus form, her in her silvery gray wolf form, loping through the trees, moving towards that clearing, that very calm clearing in the woods. As you emerge through that copse of trees, she slowly shifts back into her Hamid form. The transition slow but fluid. And as she gets back up into her bipedal form, her eyes are closed, and you can see all of the stress just melt away from her face. Her wrinkles almost smoothing out as a breeze wafts over her, sending her long silvery gray hair just wafting over her shoulders. Have you ever been to a place, Aiden, a place where you feel completely unburdened?
I had a dream once of something similar to this, but not actually being in it, no.
There's only ever been two places like that for me. Here, and a porch swing back in Savannah. I was maybe 4 years old. It was my grandmother's house. And it was on this piece of land that you couldn't see another house in sight. It was on the countryside. What I love about those places is that it's a place where you just feel completely free, alone, a place where you can breathe, truly breathe, a place where you can feel, well, what I didn't know at the time, Gaia's heartbeat on the wind, underneath your feet on the ground. A place where you don't have to think, where you don't have to feel anything you don't want to feel. A place where you truly don't have to worry.
Yeah. There this place, you'll point towards the center. The closer you get to the middle, the more and more you get that feeling. When I was brought here and I started looking around, that spot in particular was probably one of the closest feelings I've ever had to Gaia.
It's a good feeling, isn't it?
It was a bit overwhelming at first, but then it was a good feeling. The more that became comfortable in that spot.
Well, you'll come to know that feeling very well.
I I hope so. I wanted I wanted to see how you're doing. You've kind of been through some stuff lately, so the whole your place being attacked and then held at gunpoint, and then all the other things that followed. Want to make sure that you're. I know as far as you are, you look like you're doing all right. It's this up here I'm wanting to make sure of.
Well, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't an ordeal. It certainly is. I think it would be an ordeal for anyone, but I think what worries me the most is the ordeal it's put you all through. I can't help but feel sometimes that I become more and more of a vulnerability for y'all and for what y'all are trying to do. My mistakes from my past just keep coming back to haunt y'all. My lack of fulfilling my duties as the rat master of the area for these past 10 years, my tangles with the leeches of this area.
Yeah, what does Mary have against you? If you don't mind me asking, just curious.
I survived. I survived her first onslaught. I'm a remnant of what should have been her purge. That's all. There's no personal vendetta there. There's no great offense that I caused her. I'm just a memory, a leftover, a remain. And I'm an asset to you. Another dog to be put down in her eyes, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, you're more resilient than you give off, though. I wanted to say sorry for what I did to you. My patron, they're harsh and they're cold. And when the wind asked me to do what was asked, and then I was told I can't keep things back. I just want you to know I didn't enjoy doing any of it. It's something I had to do. I just wanted to put that out. I didn't want to.
Eliza opens her eyes for the first time and turns to acknowledge you and raises one of her wrinkly, withered hands and places it against your cheek. Aiden, you did no more or less than I asked of you. You should feel nothing but pride, as I feel, for what you did. I asked you to do something very, very difficult. And if there's anyone who should feel remorse, it should be me for putting you in that position. You have nothing to be sorry for. And if anything, I am grateful that it was you to be the one to do that deed. Because there is no one I had greater trust in, there is no one I had greater faith in, and there is no one I had greater pride in and belief in. You did everything I could have asked for. And you did exactly what you should. You did your patron justice, and you did me justice. So just like the burdens that I feel relieved of when I'm in this place, you too should feel relieved of that burden being here. And when you leave this place, do not pick them up again. Because they are not yours to carry.
I pulled you out of your burning house weeks prior, and then the following weeks, I'm kicking the shit out of you.
I'm still here, aren't I?
Which brings back you're a resilient lady.
I knew I could take it. A couple of more, I probably would have been in a much worse state, but I asked for you because I knew they were going to be a very, very harsh critic. I knew that they were going to want me to suffer. And I needed to suffer. I did them wrong. But I also knew the care you would take. While I knew you would hurt me, I knew you would take no pleasure in it. While others, not amongst your pack by any means, but others might have found some joy or malice in the affair, that's not what this was about. This contrition that I was paying was not about giving someone some kind of sick pleasure. This was about my pain, not another's pleasure.
Okay. If someone does that to you, let me know. And I'll take care of it.
Of course.
I don't care what tribe you're a part of. You're part of this pack. I got you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And
Wow,
the
that feels
same
really
goes
good.
for you, always. I know that my methods and my tribe's reputation is one of a checkered past, but I'm always keeping my eyes on all of you, on this side and the other. And I only want what's best for you, even if it means leaving me behind. And I will tell you to do so if that's what's necessary. And I will mean it.
Yeah. And I'll tell you that you should leave and I'll stay behind, as my job dictates that everyone else gets out before I do.
There was another who spoke that way.
It's kind of taught to us that way. We find out what we are. The way my mentor told me is even my the Gale Stalkers, they were the hunters, were the trackers. But because of our patron being so cold and harsh, we're the ones willing to do the kind of the things that others won't. We'll kill if need be. It's demanded of us daily. And that also means to protect everyone else, make sure they get out.
I want you to consider something. And think about it very, very seriously. Sometimes it's not your turn to sacrifice. Sometimes it's someone else's.
Is there a way to know when that time is?
You just do.
Human spirits, like answers, but not answers. I don't. Speaking of spirit, the one that brought me here, I don't know if you know this one little white wolf, but she sucks. She's mean and she calls me names. Um, and she like got in my face, and I don't like that. So if you can, I don't know, talk to her, like back off a little bit. That I don't know if she's here, but if she is, I didn't say any of this. But if you could talk to her, that'd be great.
You would have liked her when she was alive.
Oh, so you like know this cool. Well, then never mind. I don't know. I didn't say anything if they were a friend. I mean, they're
Oh no,
wonderful.
she was one righteous bitch, but
Okay,
you would have
good.
liked
We're on the
her.
same page. Okay, all right.
She's grown up quite a bit since then, but she she's she's here for a reason, and she's serving a purpose.
Being a pain in my butt. Yeah, that's the purpose. But she did kind of help me with one thing. I was talking to her about Charles and what the conflict he and I had. She did help me kind of realize that I need to, in a way, find the balance between both of what Charles was saying and then staying who I am instead of just changing. So okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. That she's helpful. Kind of takes me a little bit. I like directness.
And that's why she's perfect for you. A lot of spirits that you encounter, like you said, talk in circles. It's very rare that you come upon one that is direct. They can't always say everything they mean. They can't always give you the straight path because they don't even know it. Because the path's always changing. Your decisions make the path. And the paths are laid out before them just like they're laid out before you. And what path you choose can alter the paths laid out before them.
Okay.
All they can do is tell you the choices you have. Advise you on what those outcomes could be. Maybe help you see something you can't. But they can't tell you for sure what's going to work or what isn't. All I can tell you is, you're so sure that you're the one who's meant to sacrifice, that you're the one who's meant to be the last one out. So was Blackrock. I can't be certain that if he hadn't been, that Sept wouldn't still be standing.
All right. When a time comes, I'll consider it. I can't guarantee it'll be the right choice.
Any choice is the right choice because it's the choice you made with the information you had at the time. Even Blackrock's choice was the right choice because it was the choice he made.
Okay. All right. I'll see what I can do about it.
I know.
Can I hug? I won't like break you, but can I give you a hug?
If you were gonna break me, you already gave it one of your best efforts and you didn't do it then. I think a hug would be fine.
Fair enough. You'll go and like embrace her in a big hug.
She holds you close to her. And she keeps the hug held in for a long moment. Sacrifice, choices, all these things lay in front of us. Aiden knows he has a choice ahead of him. In the final conflict, it's either going to be him or her. Which her is the question. We transition now to our final scene of the evening. We find ourselves in a campground. A campground outside of Tampa to the north. A campground that had been a meeting place. A meeting place when Jester had gone to ground after the blow-up or the explosion at the energy plant almost a year ago. A place where Jester and Leon had had secret rendezvous to check in with one another, to keep in touch while Jester was a fugitive. A fugitive she still remains to this very day, though there hasn't been really any updates on that. Most of the records of that have been long forgotten. Jester, you got to the campground early securing the place, making sure that there weren't any other campers around the area. Having told Charles of your intentions, asking him to bring Leon there, Charles had rented out all of the campsites at the campground in advance of this particular night to make sure that there would be no onlookers, but you went ahead just to be sure that nobody was going to pull a fast one and be in the area, no hikers. Having looked around, though, you don't see anyone. So as the luxury town car pulls into the campsite, Charles climbs out of the driver's seat. It's dark after nightfall, as the instructions had been given. He doesn't remove Leon from the trunk yet, but he steps out dressed in his suit and approaches you. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know there's no going back.
I know.
I would do it for you.
You're not the only one.
Yes, but you hating me, that wouldn't be untoward. I'm used to others hating me.
Maybe I don't want to hate you. At least for not something that really isn't your fault.
It's not yours either.
Part of it is. I did get him involved.
You tried to have a life outside of all of this. It's natural. You weren't born into this like I was. You didn't get told the day you changed what to expect. You weren't even told before you changed what to expect like I was. You just tried to live. It's admirable, honestly. Maybe a little foolish, but admirable. You have to stop blaming yourself. It's easier said than done, and one day you will. But this isn't going to help. And I would rather you hated me than yourself for this.
I'll do it.
Very well.
I don't know how much you know about my tribe, but we're not ones to sit back passively and let others act.
Oh, I'm very well aware of your tribe. I have some options for you. I thought if you preferred it to be quick, and he unbuttons his suit jacket and pulls open the jacket to reveal a holster attached to his chest with a pistol stashed in the holster. I could keep the hood on, one to the back of the head. I also secured something you could inject him with. Quick and painless, if you prefer that.
How quick is the poison?
The quickest I could get, 60 to 90 seconds.
I think that's still too long.
He would fall asleep, would not wake up again.
I'll reach over and pull out the clave. I had a thought too.
You can actually see a strange look of respect cross his eyes and a slight curl at the corner of his mouth of what could be considered a smile. More honor than he deserves. But
Poison's not really my thing. It's more Lucas's. And I can't shoot a gun to save my life.
the smile actually spreads a little bit. I'm glad to see he hasn't gotten to you.
Not all the way.
Very well.
I want to talk to him first.
Are you sure?
He deserves that much.
He nods, makes his way to the back of the sedan, pops the trunk, and a moment later comes back with the body of Leon over his shoulder. And a moment later, puts the young man down on his knees in front of you. Leon appears to be hog-tied, wrists tied to his ankles behind his back, hood over his head, right in front of the headlights of the sedan, so the lights shine, casting shadows long across the ground. The only sound is the sound of the park and campground beyond, the sound of nature. A light breeze causing the branches in the trees to rattle as the hood is removed. Leon definitely looks a lot more worse for wear, as it has been several days now. You can see that he has grown a thick stubble on his face. There are heavy bags under his eyes. His hair is very mussed at this point. He blinks several times in the light of the headlights. And you can see a twitch at the corner of his eyes. His lips are dried and cracked. he tries to kind of turn his head away from the headlights. After a moment, his eyes adjust and he looks towards you. Hey, Jess.
Hey, Leon. I look around. You remember the last time we were here?
Better circumstances. If you'd have tied me up then, probably would have been much more enjoyable.
Were you working with them then?
Do you really want the answer?
Yeah, I do.
Would it help?
Yeah.
Yes.
You didn't tell them.
No. I didn't need to.
I told you when you first came to me, after the letter I wrote, that there were things I could never tell you. I really, really wish you would have left it at that. I tried so hard to keep you out of this.
I wouldn't have cared. You could have told me anything. You could have told me you could have told me you murdered my entire family. You could have told me that you ate babies. You could have told me anything. And I would have believed there was a good reason for it. Because it was you.
But you didn't trust me enough when I said that I wasn't a terrorist. You believe I got in with a bad crowd? You didn't trust my judgment enough? Or was it that they got in your mind?
His eyes kind of glass over as he's considering, his gaze kind of going into the middle distance. I don't know. You weren't you. You were different. You were being different.
I was being different because they took my friends. And trust me, I was being more myself than you ever knew. It wasn't just to protect you that I wanted you out of this. It was because if it ever came to it, and there was a choice, you would always lose against Gaia, against my pack. And I never wanted it to come to that, but now it has.
Your friends killed all those people.
No, they didn't. I was there.
Who blew up the building?
He's dead now. They killed him. He died saving Jackson and Caleb and Chloe.
What about the others?
The others didn't do it.
I don't know what you did, but you burned so many people.
I can't argue with what they put in your head. I know the truth, and that's enough. I'm sorry. With that, I'm going to raise the clave. And swing it down. Or attempt to.
Make a resolve and melee check.
What is my rage at?
It is at 3, considering the circumstances.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to spend a willpower. Six successes with a crit.
6 successes with a crit. It is quick. It is clean. It is probably the most precise stroke you've made since you've picked up this glaive. The way you cut, the way your hands grip the blade, it feels like an extension of your arm. Maybe it's all the training, maybe it's the passion behind the swing. But as it cuts, it slices through with no resistance. It doesn't even feel like it made contact. Maybe you missed, but you couldn't have. As the blade hits the dirt, Leon stays kneeled for a moment. And you look to the ground where the blade hit, unsure if you hit, but from the blood that is spattered on the ground from where the blade did land, you must have. Looking back, you see the head slowly separate from the shoulders and the body slump to the ground. a spurt of blood violently splashing out to hit you as it slumps forward. Leon, sweet Leon, naive Leon, caught up in these games, a puppet, a tool. And now, another sacrifice. That stain against Toronto, as the touchstone is destroyed at your own hands by your own actions, becomes a permanent dot of Toronto. What's going through Jester's mind at this moment? Or what would Jester like to do in this moment?
Oh, that's really echoing through Jester's mind is Leon's voice calling her a monster. As it feels like her own heart has been sliced in two.
Give me a composure and resolve check.
That's a brutal.
As you stare at the fallen form of Leon, your vision starts to darken. White noise starts to enter your ears. You hear the muffled sound of Charles's voice, but you can't quite make out the words. You see movement blotting out the headlights as your vision darkens more and more. That white noise becoming louder and louder, a buzzing sound, until your vision goes completely black and there is no sound. And that is where our scene comes to a close. We transition to a final scene. We find ourselves in a darkened room with metal paneled walls. Overhead, a single lamp hangs with a light bulb, casting a pale light down on a metal paneled floor. In the middle of the floor is a simple wooden table, a wooden chair. And sitting in the chair is a broad-shouldered woman with brown curly hair. She sits with a glass and a bottle. She contemplates the glass, she contemplates the bottle. The bottle appears to be old Irish whiskey. She pours it in the glass, swirls the glass, raises it up to sniff it. Bloody Mary pulls the glass back from her nose and recoils from the smell of it. Never smells the same. Never. She chucks the glass against the metal wall and it shatters. After a moment, there's a staticky crackle. And she reaches down to a pocket and pulls out a walkie-talkie. Aye. Voice on the other end says, we just received word. The informant is dead. Well, no surprise there. The Blue Bloods have the worst informants. No big loss. She sets the radio back down on the table. We pan over to a grate up on the wall. In the grate, we see a pair of beady red eyes. As we get closer, we see a twitchy nose. Then we see another pair of beady red eyes, and another, and another, and another, as a swarm of rats appears in a vent. The rats turn and start to scurry along the vent. And as we follow them through the vent, they end up turning down passage after passage after passage until they emerge out the side of a shipping boat in Tampa Harbor. And that is where our story comes to a close this evening. Thank you so much to these amazing players. Thank you so much to everyone watching at home. Rage Across Tampa will be back next week. Go follow us on all the social media listed down below. You can also see all of the old episodes of Rage Across Tampa as well as all of our old shows on YouTube. So go subscribe to YouTube. And if you're interested in the World of Darkness, go join our Discord. The link is in the description and you can be a part of our amazing community. So go join us, because why not? You can learn more about the World of Darkness and you can be a part of our amazing St. Pete by Night community. But thank you again to these amazing players. And for them, I'm Kent, and we'll see you next time. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Good night.
This has been a St. Petersburg by Night production. Rage Across Tampa is produced in agreement with the World of Darkness and Darkpack. The storyteller for Rage Across Tampa is Kent. Tonight's characters were voiced by Preston, Champ, Noree, and Weiss. Visit our website at stpetebynight.com for more information about all of our productions and how you can become part of our community. Thank you for listening. Until next time, fangs, stakes, and claws out.